Hello everyone. I'm super excited to be here. I'm sorry I couldn't do this live. I'm currently traveling and the hotel has terrible Wi-Fi, but let's just get right into the talk. That's why it's recorded. Um, so my talk today is going to be about Legos. Like, don't you just love Legos? The flexibility that they provide to like build out different things. Well, the concept of Legos. Um, The first thing I want to point out is that trying to pick a JavaScript framework to choose for projects is always like trying to pick a place to have dinner, right? Because like you're not ever sure what you want to eat, you're not sure where you want to eat, you're not sure how you want to do this. Excuse me. But the best thing I've always found to like help me and mostly the cause of like our confusion is that there's JavaScript everywhere, right? And you can have like JavaScript on the web. There's even on the web there's like different aspects of like it. There's the React, there's like Vue, there's Gatsby. If you okay, you say you want to build a static site generator, you have Gatsby, you have Next, you have Nox. Like there's always something there. And every time a JavaScript developer sees a new framework, like they act like the kid in the movie It and just go down the rabbit hole. But the most important question to ask is why? Like, why am I using this to build? And if I'm using this to build, how is this benefiting me? So, today I want to talk about building a static site with Gatsby JS and Sanity IO. My name is Obinna Ekuno. You can find me on Twitter at Obinna Speaks. I am a software engineer at Gatsby and I write a bunch of technical articles and I also like to talk about accessibility. Let's begin at this quote. Some wise human said that every great idea is born out of a problem, right? So for you to have like a solution, there has to be a problem. And the challenges of the modern web, in my opinion, are as follows. Like it's hard to get started because there's a lot of technologies like I've pointed out. There's always going to be something that you would say, oh, I should use this or I should use that. There's always going to be something there. And the methods of handling data keep evolving, right? So you have um, so you have sourcing from here, getting that one from there. There's a lot of CMSs coming in. There's locally, there's Markdown. You're always wondering, how do I put all of this in like my application? Where do I use this? How do I, even if I want to use, so if I love, for example, Sanity and I want to use Markdown, how do I use this? Like, it becomes complicated, and especially for beginners and people that are new to like the JAMstack world. And getting it right is really hard. And this is a big problem, right? It's a really big problem. So today I want to introduce you to Gatsby. And most people would say Gatsby is a static site generator. And I'll say yes, but actually no, right? So Gatsby is a static site generator, but then you can also push Gatsby's limit in order to build real world applications. Like Gatsby is a React based um, web generator or web app generator, like I like to call it. So basically, you can use Gatsby and just source static files, and then you can also push Gatsby's capabilities in order to increase the impact that you can have with Gatsby. So Gatsby is not just a static site generator. You can also use Gatsby to build real-world applications, and you can also add app-like features to it to enhance the solution to the problem you're trying to solve. And you would ask, like, okay, why should I use Gatsby now that you know what Gatsby is? It will give you the power of Neo in the metrics. Okay, but for real, like imagine if when I said like the problem of sourcing data is becoming tougher. Imagine if like you had a PM say, "Oh look, we have a lot of contractors and we want these contractors to contribute to our platform from Contentful." And then you have a bunch of then at some point your PM says, "Oh, okay, cool. Let's leave these contractors to contribute here. We want to run our own stuff on WordPress." Now you have to go understand how to connect that to your React application, how to do all of those connections and all of that. But with Gatsby, you can leverage on its great plugin ecosystem, and really everything in Gatsby is like a plugin, right? So you have like the basic functionalities of an application which Gatsby provides you. setting up like a view and everything. The more you want to extend, the less stress you have to do because like there's already plugins to support you. If we have like built-in performance enhancements, there's GraphQL at build time, and I know that the question I always get when I mention GraphQL for Gatsby is that do I need to learn GraphQL? And no, you don't have to learn GraphQL in the entirety of it, like of mutations and subscriptions and all of those like cool stuff to be able to use Gatsby as a beginner or as somebody that's like new. You don't have to be like a Jedi, but you would just have to understand how structure of like queries come in, and there's a tool called Graphical which would help you to understand how to structure your queries. You can also generate like static only content. So if you're not trying to do anything dynamic, excuse me. So if you're not trying to do anything dynamic, then you can have your static content coming from Markdown. You can also optimize lazy load assets and then normalize third-party data sourcing by adding different data sources to your application. In this today's talk, we're only going to look at one data source, which is Sanity.io, but subsequent talks you should be able to like do other stuff. So Gatsby comes as a solution to a problem, right? It comes as a bridge between a problem and a solution, and then it gives you the ability to scale up. So I have mentioned that like Gatsby gives you a basic thing for you to start off with. You're building something. The more you want to extend it, the more you think of like, okay, cool, I have a static site, right? A static site, right? And then you notice I'm doing air quotes because that's not like the best way to explain it. But if you're trying to add say you want to add admin functionalities, we support Gatsby supports client only routes. If you're trying to add client only routes, which means like you can add some stuff that's only viewed, that's only going to be like accessible to an admin or to one user based on an ID and stuff. These are like actual applications, right? So you can add in authentication, you can source data from different places, you can do like anything you think that you can do with React, right? You can actually build that out in Gatsby. And it scales up for you. So in case you want to like configure Webpack differently, Gatsby offers you some APIs to help you do all of that, right? So you can always improve on the solution you're trying to build. We've discussed pulling data from different sources. So this is like a pictorial example of what this looks like. You have like the data sourcing in from anywhere and it builds through GraphQL, and then Gatsby serves you a React application and that you can deploy anywhere, right? So it's kind of like what you're already used to, but on steroids. Um, Gatsby builds super fast static sites. Again, air quotes static sites because it helps you to like do something interesting. And I know that like if you're excited already, which is really cool, but there's more. So Gatsby helps you build like the super fast static sites using its tool called Gatsby Cloud. Gatsby Cloud actually is built to optimize Gatsby open source sites. There's a free tier, so you don't just it's not like a or pay to get like more speed, but then who better to know how to build Gatsby sites than Gatsby themselves, right? So there's a pipeline where you can like deploy your site to Gatsby Cloud. The build time is like less than 10 seconds. It optimizes, it helps you with like lighthouse scores and all those things. And then the more you want to stress the ability of what Gatsby Cloud can give you, then that's when you like start to pay. But the basic package is speed, accessibility, and performance. It comes with like preview for real-time preview, CMS integrations, and all those cool stuff. And today, the CMS of choice we're going to use is Sanity.io, right? And Sanity is a hosted backend for structured content, and it comes with like a fully customizable API built in React. Why I particularly like to use Sanity is because you can extend the capabilities of the CMS, right? It's easily customizable, and as much as like that Sanity gives you like Sanity Studio for you to be able to do your other customizations, it also just keeps you in it gives you like the ability to do all these um, edits locally, right? In your, like, you can see the JSON object of your data types and then solve that. So Gatsby and Sanity kind of look like preparing your favorite dish, right? It's going to make something awesome, and let's dive right into the code. Okay, so here we have a project that I had already set up. I built this about a month ago, and it's currently, I would explain how it is set up, and it's currently using like a version of Gatsby that sources data from the Create Pages API, which, if you're wondering what the Create Pages API is, we can just look at it here. So if you're familiar with Gatsby, this would be how you would programmatically create pages by using the Gatsby node file, and I will show you. So the essence of this talk is to show you how to refactor from, because the the essence of this talk is to show you how to refactor from using the Gatsby node method and create API to create pages to using the file system API, which was just launched. Um, and I assume that that people understand how to do the first method, and even if you don't understand that, then I would explain how to use this new route system API. So um, the first thing I like to do when using Sanity Studio is let me increase this so it is proper. I hope this is good. Is to split my project into two parts. So we have the Sanity Studio here, and we have the Gatsby project here, right? So in the Sanity Studio, I let's look at the documentation to see how to like actually set this up. You can, so I've already done all the setups, but like I just want to walk you through it. You can do like you can install the Sanity CLI and then initialize a new project. You can like then run Sanity start in order to actually start this your Sanity Studio on a local project, or you can just use like one of the starter projects, which is what I used. Um, I used the blog starter. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, not exactly this blog starter, but like I use the blog starter by running Sanity init and getting up to like this point. So I'm just trying to give you like an overview of what this looks like. So when you run this with the CLI and when you run Sanity init, it gives you like a list of data sets that are already generated, and you can select the one with the blog, which is what we're using here. When you do that, you have all of this set up for you, right? So there's no need to like worry about, oh, how do I know what files to put in or anything. So once you run Sanity init and then you select the project, it asks you what's the base name you want. Do you want I call my base name production, and we'll see where that exists here. But the most important thing here to keep in mind, and remember, we're trying to like fast track the way we build stuff. The most important thing to keep in mind is the schema, right? Which is, like I said, Sanity gives you customizable schemas, and all of this came custom with the template that I chose. You can now have you can then check the you can then check for like the post, which is this was what I created. Oh, sorry, I created a project, right? But I mirrored it from the post. So let me just open this here so that you can see what this looks like. So the way the way Sanity works is you have, oh, this was actually created 4 months ago. But anyways, we're going to refactor it today. So the way Sanity works is that you have the project, you set up like this is essentially like an array of objects which would come off as fields, and I'll show you how this turns out eventually. But you create like the name, the project, the title, and then the fields, which is like what you want to have in the, if you've ever used the CMS, the visualization of how you put a title and the slug and the image and description. Yeah, these are how you create the fields. And these fields take options that some of them take options, some of them don't, like the length and all of those things. You can also tie the slug to where it is generated from, which you can tie it to be sourced from the title, and that's essentially how you create types, right? You don't even have to do anything out of the ordinary. You can just model what you want from what is already there, and then you have to import this into the schema. So if you see, I imported the projects. The only thing I actually created here was like the projects, right? And I imported this into the schema, and because if you should I show you my production key? Well, anyways, it's just I mean it's read only, so you can't exactly write from it. So um after you've done that, you want to go into your um you want to go into your sanity.json, which is where you would connect your project ID and this. And I know that like yes, before you get this, you'd have to let me open the um I'm going to open a terminal here, and I'm going to split this into two. I'm going to cd into Sanity Studio here, and I'm going to cd into my Gatsby project here. So on this part, like the Sanity Studio, what you would do essentially is to like in order to get this credential that I have just said, you'd have to do a Sanity um, start to see you run a Sanity start to see your project locally. And if I run a Sanity start just to show you what this looks like, wait for that to compile. It has to do all that fun stuff. We should have like elevator music. But yeah, so once it's done compiling, your Sanity um, studio is local to you at this URL. Let's check that out here. I'm just going to open that, and this is what it looks like, right? So we have the two schemas that I exported, and then if you click on projects, it shows you a list of projects that I had already like uploaded, and you can see the fields for the projects here, the title, the slug that's generated from this, the image, and description, and an author, right? An author is already, I didn't define this, so I didn't explain it properly because like it already existed. But like this is what it gives you locally. And for you to be able to like see this and get like this project ID and this, you have to deploy this studio to Sanity. So I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to run a Sanity deploy, right? And when you run Sanity deploy, it checks your project info and then inserts elevator music. But yeah, so it sends your Sanity Studio to like an online CDN where you can then get this project ID and all of this. I'm just going to, because I didn't add anything to my schema, but in the process of it, it's going to minify like a JavaScript. It's going to make sure that everything is optimized and all of that. But because I didn't add anything new to my schema, I'm just going to cancel this deploy, and hopefully it didn't destroy anything. So you would have to go to like a manage.sanity.io, and it will show you all the projects that you have live. So this is the project that I have. So I know it's already here. That's why I didn't need to like modify. So I'm just going to clear this so that it's a fresh start. And then so once you take this credentials here, which is this is read only, so please don't try to do anything funny. But then once you take these credentials and you link them here, then you're all set, right? And that's about it about like setting up like Sanity. For more like info, I would advise like checking the documentation, super helpful documentation. Um, so yeah, let's get into like the Gatsby part of it, which is the part that I'm really excited about, right? Um, I'm going to clear, I'm going to run a Gatsby clean because I can see like cache from like I think the last time I ran this. I'm just going to run a Gatsby clean to be sure that everything is working according to plan. I'm going to clear this, and then we have so I'm just going to click through to show you what this looks like, and I'll minimize this. Um, so previously, if you're trying to like query pages programmatically, and when I say programmatically, I mean like pages that are coming from like a CMS like Sanity or like pages that don't live in the pages directory of your application, right? Like these are the pages that are custom pages, and this is a page that's created programmatically. You would have to do most of this work from, you have to do most of this work from, let me open this here, from the Gatsby node file. And you use the create pages, excuse me, you will use the create pages API to be able to do this. And this this method works, right? But then it would require you to be able to know what the create pages API does and how to like, there's actually more JavaScript required to be able to source this, because you would first of all have to export this using like the common JS, and then get your query in here, and then get each the project, and then for each project, start to map out a slug, and then create like a template, and then get that slug, use that slug as an ID, and then source out into this, right? So I'm going to show you what this looks like at the end product, so that you have like an idea of what this does, right? So that we can see. But the method I'm going to use today, like the refactoring, is going to be a simpler, more intuitive method to getting the same expected results. So just because I'm trying to be careful, because I haven't touched this project in a while, I'm going to delete this yarn.log so I avoid any dependency issues, and also just remove this. I'm going to run the yarn install, so like it gets me everything. Oh, yeah. So I also, before you can use like this feature, I just realized that the version of Gatsby that I have on this project isn't the latest. So when this is done, I'm just going to get the latest version of Gatsby to my project. Really need to get some elevator music for my code examples. Yeah. So while that is running, like we could just take a look at like what GraphQL query looks like. Because like I said, to be able to use Gatsby, you don't need to understand every part of like GraphQL. Like you can look at like this kind of query and see that just reading it as it is, it kind of looks like an object. And okay, let's leave this one because like it has all these variables inside and all these equations. But this kind of query now is just going to get you all the Sanity projects, look into that Sanity project for edges, look into those edges for nodes, look into those nodes for a slug, and then get you a current value, and then return that current. Allows you to like go deep into like what you're looking for, and then you can see that the path, this is like the create pages API saying that, oh, let's turn the path into the project.slug.current, right? And how I got this project here is by I I just renamed the results that were coming from the query, and then for each of them I created like a page for them, right? Which is how, I mean, you're getting a lot of information from CMS as an array. Just think of it as an array, and then you want for each element you want to push out a page, right? So that's what I'm doing. The documentation for it here is super helpful if you want to be if you want to create your pages that way, right? And just because I noticed um my version of Gatsby wasn't the latest, I'm going to try to install the latest version of Gatsby. Oh, Yan ad. Ah, silly me. Oh, yeah. So the latest version of Gatsby available now is like 2.27.1, which is what we would need to be able to utilize the API properly. So I'm going to clear all of this because that was a bunch of like installations and that, and I'm just going to show you what this looks like. Gatsby develop to give you an idea of what we are going to get, right? Um, while we wait for that to, oh yeah, shouldn't take so much time. Um, while we wait for that to like build, oh that's done. So I'm just going to get this. I'm going to take this here. Um, yeah, so this is what we're going to get, right? This is all the like the stuff that I miss doing when and just forget about the name. So I refactoring something I'd already done before. So this is just to show the what's it called the clicking through of like all the fun stuff I miss doing, um, drawing, traveling, sketching and chilling with my co-workers. And this is we're just going to click through and all of this. This is using the Gatsby node and the routes API. I've created like all these routes on the fly. You can see that like they just come slash this and yeah, that's how we create this. But now I want to show you another method of creating pages, and we're just going to do this. I was going to do this from yeah. So I'm going to stop this now. I'm going to stop this one, and then we're another branch. And if we git checkout, I already created this branch called file system. Okay, so we move to the file system branch and we can clear all of this. We can see that. Let me just remove this. Um, and close this up. Close the studio because so the refactoring here is that, and you can like get more info from looking at the documentation, but because of time, I'm just going to walk you through the refactoring. I'll link the documentation. This is the documentation. Just walk you through the refactoring. And the refactoring, the first step is to get rid of like everything your Gatsby node because you won't be using it any longer. And then you would want to like create a new like under the pages directory because that's where we want to intuitively query pages from. We're going to create like a projects directory, and then in that project directory, you want to name the folder, um, the file is going to resemble the query, right? So here you have like Sanity projects, right? And you can see that this is Sanity projects dot title. And the reason why I'm using this dot title is because of if you read the documentation, you'll see that you want to like make to use the file system curly braces your file name significant dynamics segments that relate to the field within the node, right? So this is what the query is going to look like. It's going to be localhost 8000 slash project slash the Sanity project dot title, which will give me an actual value of a title, right? And this is what is going to be the query now. And if you look at this query, it's kind of different from the last one we saw because now instead of like getting using the slug as an ID, we're making sure like the ID is the string, and then we're making sure that is equal to like an ID of one of the projects. And then we map this out here by doing like the date. So we use data here because everything that comes into the everything that comes into from GraphQL into like a Gatsby components we map is seen as data. So we use the data dot Sanity projects dot title to map that out and map out the image assets, and voila, that's all. That's literally all we need to do. Like, so instead of having to go through all of this setting up slug and all of this, you can just create this in here, right? And then voila, your pages are created. And the next thing we're going to look at is like how to actually link this together. But because I said because of time, I'm just going to show. So this documentation is pretty straightforward. And please, if it's like if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me on Twitter. I'm going to be in the live chat to like answer questions. You have the Gatsby path, which is a way to like link pages together. And now I want to link this together from like my index.js. You can see here that this shows a way to like reuse the Gatsby path by using like, so for example, if you had two things with the same name but different folders, how do you use that, right? It uses you use like a buffer name to be able to like say, oh, this is the name, but that's the path, right? So but here we have only one link, so we're just going to add that here, which is I want to be able to link to those pages from my index. So this is like how to get this out of the way, right? And then add like the link here and then implement it in the actual, this is the act where the querying goes on. And you can see here we implement it just by saying project switch. So the way the project works is, like I said, data dot all this, and then I renamed the node to be project. That's why you see project dot Gatsby path here. And just to show you what this looks like before I conclude, I'm going to run a Gatsby develop. And you can see it's in this file system route, file system branch, and if I take this and I put this here, oh, we can even see that it's been created, but I just put that there just because then, yeah, cool. We can link to, and you can see that's using the route API because it's on the project slash wherever the name of the thing is. So yeah, thank you all so much for coming to this talk. Please, I wish I could have done this live, but like I said, I'm traveling and the internet is really bad. So please, ask me any questions on Twitter. I'm happy to answer. Cheers.